Budget and Finance Committee meeting will come to order at 5:02 p.m. on Monday, November 6th. Let the record show that all the members are present. Move for approval of September 23 minutes. Second. All those approved say aye. Aye. Passes 2-0. Is there any citizen comment? Seeing none, move on to item number A. We're doing letters this month. Discussion on fiscal year 23-24 update.
Yeah, the agenda is
Your mic.
The financials were sent to you. They're in your packet. Happy to answer any questions that I can. As you're aware, Deb is out, and will be out for the rest of this week and maybe a little bit of next week, depending. But any questions that I can answer?
Alderman Linville? None? Moving on, item number B, discussion on the bank reconciliation update.
So they are working on the first pooled cash account. Because of the way the credit card's processed, it's a little more complicated than we wanted to be for month one, but month two is now proper, heading in the right accounts, and we have officially closed all of the First Farmers accounts, so we are completely consolidated where we need to be. I hope that by the next BFAC meeting, we will be completely up to date. And I'll just jump on to the next one and tell you that.
Well, is fiscal year 22-23 completely closed then if the First Farmer accounts are closed down?
Deb is very, very close. Okay. I mean, that's an audit process, so what's being
Sure.
done now is mostly the adjustments.
Sans audit.
Yeah. So, chasing around to find out all the dedicated, the donated assets and everything is a big giant pain in the butt. And it's a lot of data entry and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of where we are. There's some journal entries that need to be made as part of the conversion as we shifted projects from one thing to another. They converted, but the POs got left behind and that sort of stuff. So we've got a little bit of that cleanup to do, but I think she's really, really close.
That's good. Alderman Linville, anything on bank recs? Item number C, discussion on the audit update.
Oh, the audit update. Yeah, I think she's really close to that. We're hoping to be done by the end of next week. She's going to work a little bit from home as she can. And I know she'll probably work more than she should. But by next week, we should know. April, is there anything that you know of that's outstanding on the audit that I'm unaware of? Yeah, yeah, she's been working through the checklist pretty quick. So hopefully by the middle of November, we'll be ready to hand that off.
Alderman Linville.
Thank you. Looking at the report that was provided to us on the audit status, a little bit hard to know kind of what's going on because basically it's just a graph of information provided or outstanding items, but the expectation is for essentially that's moving forward and should hear potentially everything's to the auditors by next month when we have this meeting.
Oh yeah, by next month for sure.
Okay.
Might even send you an email that says it's much earlier. So that's the goal.
Great, thank you.
So essentially we're back on track to a normal audit.
Yes, we are. Yeah. And yes, we are. And the other thing, I hope you all saw the budget booklet that you got sent this week.
Yeah.
And
it was published as well.
And published in the website and whatever. In the future, that will come a lot closer to the adoption of the budget, but we got it done. So that's the critical thing.
All right, and that transitions us well into item number D, demonstration of the OpenGov Budge software. Tony.
Thought I had a couple more minutes. Okay. All right. All right, can everybody see?
Yes.
Great. I need my notes.
Let me, Tony, if you could just, please know that this is a very preliminary high view of this. We have not gotten very far. We have not actually had our training. Tony has gone in and skulldug around. For better or for worse. But I wanted to make sure that you saw, A, that we were making progress, and B, give you a general idea of what it looked like.
So, as Pam pointed out, we do have a lot of ways to go. I'm going to show you some of the ways that it's going to be useful, and as we do not have some of the data sets in there right now, we won't be able to build those out, and we haven't activated those modules. They've been really good about stepping us through this process, but I wanted to show you a handful of things. The most obvious item that you're probably going to see and use the most is the reporting function on this. So when we pull up the reports, I'm just going to use I'll use the chart of accounts validation one. So what you see before you is essentially a way that you can run any report for this, for our budgets. You can pick the particular years. In this case, there's only the 1 year for the chart of account validation. You can pick expenses versus revenues or just expenses. You can break down by funds, division, expense type. We can expand that out if we really needed to, but right now those are the functions. So if we were to say run it by division, we can then, of course, use chart of account codes. And if it runs by division, you have multiple ways to go through it. One is you can pick on any particular item and it brings up the information. When we have multiple data sets in, you'll be able to see those against. Pardon?
Can you click on one then?
Oh, sorry. So, okay, public streets, stormwater, and then it brings up the subcategory.
Keep going. Keep
and
clicking.
so on and so forth till we get down to that. Of course, we're doing it by division, so it brings up the total division level. We can break that down even further, and we also have the ability, if you look, you can save view over here. So if you have a report that you like and you know you're going to run it all the time, you just hit save view, you name it, and then you go back to that report all the time. Especially as an ongoing, and we'll get into that with dashboards a little bit. You can also, of course, just go back, compare different funds. You can also look down to these and see the different departments. So you can break down either on the side, through this, or on the bottom. And it can be broken out all the way to the line item budget, depending on how you run the report. So those are some of the reports, and you can also run, and then you can save your views just like we've done here. So expenses by department, Buckner Lane expenses. You can any project you want to look at. It's all how you get through it, and we can set those up individually for you as we move forward. Some of those are also going to be handled in the dashboard section I'll get to in a second. So as we load those sets, that's going to be a little easier. On budget reports, one of the other ways that we can do this is as we get in, one of the things you're going to be able to see is how we input for projects. So this software allows you, once you have your budget and you have a base budget and you want to make some requests, we can create proposals and I'll just call it anything, a test proposal, and then you can say it's a capital proposal, it's an operating proposal, a personnel request form. Those can run through the personnel module, and we had that discussion today. But if you were going to say, put in a new program, we'll just call it a test. You can put in you can have drop-down menus to provide information, background, any analysis, recommendations, and add supporting documentation. So if there are parts of it you needed to substantiate with data or something else, proposals, request letters, whatever it is, all that can be dropped in there and it becomes part of that actual request. Moving forward, then you can, of course, put in your expenses. You'd have to build a new worksheet, but those all come in, and then your revenues. And one of the things we did talk about is, and this is a place I can show it to you, when you see activity, I created something there. If you go to any of the other ones, you can, and multiple people are in it, you can see who did what when on an ongoing basis. So we know when changes were made, what happened, and modifications did happen. So it does have that sort of audit trail. Additionally, you can run out to the line items and get down into 23 actuals, 24 actuals, and then then we can divide these up as well. This allows us to do requests. Sir?
So what you were just showing, if we wanted to do a hypothetical on a revenue change, that's what that would let you do?
Ultimately, yes. We could look at a budget and say we want to move we're expecting a 20% increase. We can go over and toggle in that section, not this section, but it's going to look pretty much the same. And we're going to say increase by 20%. You can increase by a number, by percentage, by different variables, and add 20% to it or a number, and then it becomes that. And then
So
you see
if we
that.
had something like Smash or Legacy Point where we know it's going to cause an influx in various revenue sources, we could run a range of scenarios there.
Absolutely. One of the other items that is going to be kind of nice, we've talked a lot about engagement. One of the things that this system does that we probably haven't talked a lot about, but is very, very good, is it allows us the ability to look at how people are engaging us and to help us engage them. So we have this entire section, it's called the portal section, and you can see the data analytics from how many visitors, average duration time, visits per day. You can get those metrics as you see fit. Feedback, you can provide feedback and receive correspondence that way.
Is it anything about how they're finding us?
Like, like here?
Yeah.
Referrals by URL. Could do it. I believe it'd be about right here. Okay, press it.
Okay.
I'll have to look. We haven't actually asked that question, but I'm pretty sure we can determine where they're coming to us from. But I'll look at that. That's a fair question.
So this is essentially, we're putting something out there, like maybe we did a draft budget that we're putting out for comment or something like that. Is that what this is?
You
seeking
can do
feedback on, or what
Or
is
post-budget adoption.
You can
and when we publish
receive
it.
feedback on anything.
Okay, so it's really
It can
whatever
be a
you
new
want to put
program.
out there. Okay.
It can be a capital purchase. It can be, it's whatever information from this you want to
Got
put
it.
in and how you want to get that feedback and receive that. We can do that.
But if the top 5 locations are overseas, you're not getting
Right.
real feedback.
Yep. Absolutely.
We also have the ability to make, so to that end, the next item is you have the ability to make stories. Stories are essentially, here's something that's going on, let us tell you what's going on. You can use any amount of data or budget information associated with that. It helps pull through that system. Reports. The entire point of the transparency portal is to make sure that the information is out there as best we can, and sometimes we can modify that as time and information at the time needs, or other times we can say, here's what we're going to put out and it'll update. So we can make those choices, and we can be a little more flexible depending on projects or time of year. And of course, when we have supporting documents, past year budgets will get pulled in, current budgets, those types of things. Keeping in mind, though, what you will be presented will ultimately be a document with a lot of the reports like you've seen at the very beginning that you can drill down on and see the departments, but it's going to have that ability to go back and forth. It's more interactive. What we intend to provide to you is pretty much the GFOA that's going to go on the website. So that's what you'll largely see. All that information stays public. All that associated information, cash flow, all of that comes through at that time. So that's going to be probably some of the better parts, is getting that information out there. It also allows us to give a lot more detail. We've talked about the drop-down menus under any particular line item that allows us to see, well, you got a 20% jump. Okay, let's pull them open and see where it came from. That's a fair question. The more data over the years is going to help that as well, man.
To that end, I have proposed this year that we do what's called a zero-based budget, so that their first year proposal, they have to completely document everything that's in their budget, so that we get all of the documentation that build into those current requests. It's going to be a little complicated because we don't have a base budget. So you're going to see a proposed budget that isn't last year's budget because it's this base budget. Obviously, the department heads believe their base budget was accurate, so they're going to support it to be the base. But there will be a first year where this is a kind of an entry-level sort of thing. But by doing that, we'll make sure that every department has all the right documentation in their budget. And then going forward, they can just roll it because, if you had to buy 35 uniform shirts, this year. This year, you're probably going to have to buy that plus next year.
So that's a real good way to get the justification in on year one. And I would just say we need to plan on additional time for
I've already called all of them and told them, be prepared and start getting. And the good news is all of our main departments now have administrative assistants, so they can help with doing some of the data entry. Yeah.
So the last item I'll hit real quick, and this is one of the ones that we haven't built out yet because we're not trained on it. Dashboards. The dashboards allow us that, just like we save different views, we can build custom dashboards per user. So when we pull up those dashboards, they're just there. They're pulling all the information as we get it, keeping in mind that the point of this was to make sure it updates nightly when Tyler updates. So we're working on integration, so every night we should have, when you come in, we should have that updated information in the system. So we still use Tyler. Tyler doesn't go away. But as we're watching our budgets, as we're watching certain expenditures, we see that and we can track it and be much more up to speed, and the public can see that same information. So the transparency part has been really big, and I think it's been a good product for that so far. We do have a lot of different items that we're still building out. Dan and I are working on a number of the forms that we're going to use, forms or methods we're going to use for requests, capital-wise, operation-wise, to make sure that information is there and we can cut it up as best we can. That way we can really drill into it so we can keep clicking down until we get to the information that we need. Is there any questions I could answer for you?
How interactive is the public-facing version?
Public-facing,
same drill down.
we'll be able to. Go ahead, ma'am.
We can control that. So we'll be drilling down to what we call the classification level, not to the line item level. We can control how far that goes, and that'll be our stop on the public-facing version. That's where our budget control is. So.
I was trying to find it. I thought I had it. Maybe I'm wrong. There's also report templates that we will be able to run. Most of the time, the report function that I provided you at the very beginning, and just the easiest way to do it, last time we talked, we used Boulder, Colorado, their budget, because it's done through the same system. You can see how they do their drill down and how those stories work, and they're put on there and laid out, and how they integrate with the data that's in the system. So that's a good way, and those are the same tools we're going to be using.
Alderman Linville.
Thank you. I see there are other templates down there at the bottom of the screen for like water consumption, police runs.
Yeah, these are examples.
Are there? So I know that we get a plethora of reports from different departments in various formats and such. Is that something that like could be consolidated here?
Absolutely. So the goal will ultimately be to tie the reporting that we do on a monthly basis and the performance metrics that we measure on a monthly or quarterly basis into something that's all housed here, so that people are only doing it once and that it's consistent across all months, all platforms, all years. We've got a long road to hoe in getting there, but that's certainly where we're headed.
Yeah, it's fantastic as far as just creating a single source of truth, right, for what is the data that, really runs the city.
Yep. And that's something I don't think we've done enough of on performance metrics and management and all of that. But this has the capacity to get there, and we will. First priority is getting the budget.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But that's definitely my second priority.
Go ahead, Alderman Linville.
Just going to make a general comment. I think this is a fantastic step forward. I'm really excited to see it during budget season. Thanks for moving this forward.
Thank you.
Yeah, certainly think preparing and adopting the budget is going to be a big add, especially if we can run, multiple hypotheticals. But, when we get to publishing next year's budget, obviously we'll stick a link somewhere on the city website to make it easier to access publicly. I'd tell you link in it through something like SpringHillBudget.com or something might make it even more accessible.
Okay.
I mentioned that one because it's a domain I own, and I'll give it to the city. So,
We may take you up on that gift.
but that's a lot friendlier.
Lucas says, give
Yeah.
it to me. I'll take it. Yeah, absolutely.
But that's a lot friendlier way to point citizens to something other than SpringHillTN.org/this, that, and whatever.
Yeah. Well, and we're also working on a website update, and we're going to be able to co-link some of that stuff that'll make it a whole lot easier. So,
We would intend to put this link much more, the idea of using that is much better. But we would also link it on our site very publicly.
Make it
because-
easy,
yeah.
like the tab across the top where video is or something. But I mean, it's just try to make it as easy as possible.
But most of what you will, sorry, let me get to it.
Maybe we should go by SpringHillVideo.com too.
But most of these allow, these will be a lot of the reports that you'll see here a lot more, and it'll allow us to cut it up a lot better. Once we get multiple years in, you can see the comparative years. That's going to be helpful. We can also import different data sets over years and keep lining them up. There is a finite number, but I think it's like 52, so I think we're fine.
We'll probably update software before that.
I hope so.
the other thing that just with the new chart of accounts and this system, what's really going to be nice is going to be able to look at cash flow versus project expenses. It kind of has that capacity in it. We're not quite ready to show that to you, but as soon as we are, we will. But we can. It'll really help us manage a lot of this stuff that we've been spending hours redoing on spreadsheets. So.
Great. Thank you, Tony.
And it's a database, so Mr. Canaperi is going to be thrilled with it.
Thank you.
I heard you. Did you see my response? Oh.
Sir, if the public would like to speak, come up to agenda item E, any items from the floor? All right. 5:24, meeting adjourned.